Hi, welcome to Historic Eats, where I make recipes from the past and I share the history behind the recipe or the history in the recipe, which is the case today. The key ingredient is the historic star, as I will be making Guinness chocolate cake. Now this recipe is sure to become one of your favorite chocolate cake recipes because the Guinness just enhances the chocolate beautifully and it makes the cake so moist. Now this is not a boozy cake as all of the alcohol will be cooked out before it's added to the batter. And it doesn't taste like beer either. What's so special is what Guinness does to the chocolate cake. It really enhances the chocolate flavor and it improves the texture of the cake. It gives it like toasted coffee, mocha-like notes that just make it more chocolatey. And the crumb becomes even more moist. If you're new to Historic Eats, later in my videos, I share a short history segment about the interesting backstory. And Guinness has a notable history. The company goes back over 250 years, and they have an impressive story that doesn't just include their brew only, but also their commitment to Ireland and to their employees. If you enjoy great recipes and find this kind of history fun, then click subscribe because that's exactly what this channel is all about. And one more thing, I will be making a sequel to this video in which I'll be preparing chocolate cake pops and I'll be using this Guinness cake recipe. Now today's recipe is a layer cake, but in that sequel video, I'll show you how to convert it into cake pops, which are so convenient at this time of the year with the holidays coming up. If you need to bring something to the office or to a holiday party, cake pops are just more transportable. They're already serving size and you don't have to bother with plates and forks. So if you're interested in making them into cake pops, be sure to tune back in. That video will probably be posted later in the week. So without further ado, let's start our Guinness chocolate cake. I'm over at the stove here. We're reducing our Guinness. I have one 12-ounce bottle that I've poured into a saucepan. I'm heating it over medium-low heat. Once it begins to gently boil, turn it all the way down to low, simmer, between simmer and low, because when it boils, it will foam over. So you really want to watch it. All we're trying to do right now is just reduce it down to just over a half a cup in liquid volume. This will take about 30 minutes. Our dry ingredients are 1 3/4 cup of flour. To that, add 1 1/2 cups of regular sugar plus a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Then 3/4 cup of cocoa. And this is just regular, not dark chocolate cocoa, just regular traditional cocoa. Then 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Gently whisk those together. Just breaking down these clumps. Alternately, you could also put it through a sifter. So back over here at the stove, you can see that the Guinness has reduced really nicely. So I'm going to pull it off, measure it, see if we have as much as what we need, and let it cool off. So this is perfect. We have a 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of Guinness reduced. I'm just going to put it in the fridge to let it cool down a little bit. It doesn't have to be cold. It just has to be not so hot that it would scramble the eggs. In the electric mixer, we'll combine our wet ingredients. So we'll begin with 3/4 cup of sour cream. A 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, two eggs, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to mix that on low. Okay, I'm just scraping down the sides, and I'm going to go ahead and add the buttermilk and the Guinness. And continue to mix on low. I'm going to begin adding my dry ingredients in batches. And now that that's incorporated, it's time to pour it into the prepared pans. So I have two 8-inch round pans that are well greased, and instead of using white flour to flour the pans, I'm using cocoa, which is really nice because if you decide to not ice the sides of the cake, you won't have white residue on the edges of the chocolate cake. The cocoa powder will just blend right in. In addition, I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper in the very bottom because this cake can stick a little bit. It should be okay as long as you greased and put enough cocoa on it, but especially if you're going to be making a beautiful layer cake and you definitely want it to come out without sticking, just use the parchment paper as just a backup plan to make sure that the top doesn't stick. So go ahead and pour the cake batter into the pans, and my oven is preheated at 350 degrees. Okay, just pulled these out of the oven. They actually took 29 minutes, so they're just gonna sit here on the rack and cool. You run a knife around the edges to release them from the pan after they've cooled for 10 minutes, but then let them cool all the way down in the pan, and then we'll flip them over and get ready to ice them. So as a nod to the Irish background of our Guinness chocolate cake, I will be frosting it with Bailey's buttercream frosting. Now, Irish cream pairs beautifully with the chocolate, but if Irish cream isn't your favorite flavor, you can definitely substitute it with just using whole cream instead of the Bailey's in the frosting. The recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, so if you just want it to be traditional buttercream, just add 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, or you could also use 4 tablespoons of milk. This is a big batch of icing, so you might not use all of it. If you have any leftovers, of course, you can always put it in those cake pops. So let's go ahead and get started on the frosting. To begin, I'm going to start with 4 sticks or 2 cups of softened butter on medium speed. Okay, and I'll begin adding half of the powdered sugar. So this takes 6 cups of powdered sugar, so you want to add it in batches so you don't get a big cloud of sugar. So I'll start with about half of it on low. So now that the first half is somewhat blended, I'm going to go ahead and add my flavoring. I have 4 tablespoons of Bailey's. This is 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. And that's instant espresso powder. We'll get these flavors combined and then we'll finish adding the remainder of the powdered sugar. I've been mixing this for a few minutes. It's looking really creamy and light and uniform, so I think it's ready to go. (1759) Dublin, Ireland. A confident Arthur Guinness signed a 9,000-year contract to lease St. James Gate Brewery to begin brewing ale. Shortly thereafter, in 78, Arthur invented a dark porter. The dark porter was made by using roasted barley and malt, which made it dark brown, bitter, and full-bodied with a thick, creamy head. By 1799, Arthur focused exclusively on brewing porter rather than the ale. The 3 varieties he offered were Porter Single Stout, Double or Extra Stout, and finally Foreign Stout. Guinness sales and exports grew rapidly, and the brewer was insistent on quality control. Even in the 1800s, tasting teams by steamship daringly visited all 4 corners of the globe wherever Guinness was served to inspect how it was handled, the temperature it was kept at, and that it was being served and poured correctly to ensure its peak flavor and body. A perfect Guinness pint pour, by the way, should take 119.5 seconds, be poured into a cold glass at a 45-degree angle, allowing the nitrogen bubbles to cascade down through the brown liquid and resulting in an 18 to 20 millimeter thick, creamy foam head. By 1886, Guinness went public. At that time, they were selling nearly 1.2 million barrels annually without advertising or discounting their product. They were the largest brewery in the world. Guinness' passion wasn't exclusive to its product.
They showed the same regard for their employees. They paid above average wages, and they were one of the first companies to offer employee benefits. Both medical and dental services were available on site to employees and their families. They gave full pensions, and workers received 2 free pints at the end of every shift. Their commitment to their employees and Ireland was exhibited during World War I. In 1914, their employees were encouraged to join the British forces. Guinness paid any employee wishing to serve half of their wages while they were away, and their job was waiting for them when they returned. Retired Guinness workers came back and helped run the brewery while the 800 employees went on to serve in the war. The Guinness Book of World Records is absolutely a part of the Guinness brand. Sir Hugh Beaver was managing director of Guinness in 1951, and he had an argument at a pub concerning what was the fastest game bird. The conversation led to the idea that a book needed to be created to settle pub disputes regarding superlatives in question. In 1954, the first Guinness Book of World Records was created and was published in the UK in 1955. The book is updated and republished annually still today. And even if you're not a beer drinker, Guinness's reputation extends to its use in cooking and baking. Its warm coffee and chocolate undertones have enhanced savory plates and rich desserts throughout the years.
Well, here it is, iced, our Guinness chocolate cake with Bailey's buttercream frosting. Well, let's cut into this and give it a taste. Really good. So we have really thick layers with lots of icing. I didn't do a great job cutting it, but you get the idea. And let's give it a try. It is so chocolatey. It's real fudgy like a brownie. It is delicious. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed making this Guinness chocolate cake, and I hope you'll try it yourself at home. It's delicious. Make sure that you click subscribe. I have a lot more recipes with interesting backstories behind them I love to share with you. So until next time, bye-bye.